Welcome to a day in the Word. Today's reading is First Chronicles chapter 9 through First Chronicles chapter 10. First Chronicles chapter 9. The names of all the Israelites were listed in their family histories. Those family histories were put in the book, the history of the kings of Israel. The people of Judah were made prisoners and forced to go to Babylon. They were taken there because they were not faithful to God. The first people to come back and live in their own lands and towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and servants who work in the temple. These are the people from the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh who lived in Jerusalem. Athaiah was Ammihud's son. Ammihud was Omri's son. Omri was Imri's son. Imri was Bani's son. Bani was a descendant of Perez. Perez was Judah's son. The Shilonites who lived in Jerusalem were Asaiah, the oldest son, and his sons. The Zerahites who lived in Jerusalem were Juel and their relatives. There were 690 of them in all. These are the people from the tribe of Benjamin who lived in Jerusalem. Salu was Meshullam's son. Meshullam was Hodaviah's son. Hodaviah was Hasanuah's son. Ibniah was Jeroham's son. Elah was Uzzi's son. Uzzi was Mikri's son. And Meshullam was Shephatiah's son. Shephatiah was Reuel's son. Reuel was Ibnijah's son. The family history of Benjamin shows there were 956 of them living in Jerusalem. All these men were leaders in their families. These are the priests who lived in Jerusalem: Jedediah, Jehorib, Jachin, and Azariah. Azariah was Hilkiah's son. Hilkiah was Meshullam's son. Meshullam was Zadok's son. Zadok was Marioth's son. Marioth was Ahitub's son. Ahitub was the important official responsible for God's temple. Also, there was Jeroham's son, Adiah. Jeroham was Pashur's son. Pashur was Malchijah's son. And there was Adiel's son, Messiah. Adiel was Jazerah's son. Jazerah was Mushallam's son. Mushallam was Meshilemith's son. Meshilemith was Immer's son. There were 1,760 priests. They were leaders of their families. They were responsible for the work of serving in God's temple. These are the people from the tribe of Levi who lived in Jerusalem: Hashub's son, Shemaiah. Hashub was Azrikam's son. Azrikam was Hashabiah's son. Hashabiah was a descendant of Merari. Also living in Jerusalem were Bakar, Haresh, Galal, and Mattaniah. Mattaniah was Micah's son. Micah was Zichri's son. Zichri was Asaph's son. Obadiah was Shemaiah's son. Shemaiah was Galal's son. Galal was Jeduthun's son. Berechiah was Asa's son. Asa was Elkanah's son. Berechiah lived in the small towns near the people of Netophah. These are the gatekeepers who lived in Jerusalem: Shalom, Akkub, Talmon, Ahiman, and their relatives. Shalom was their leader. Now these men stand next to the king's gate on the east. They were the gatekeepers from the tribe of Levi. Shalom was Kor's son. Kor was Abisaph's son. Abisaph was Korah's son. Shalom and his brothers were gatekeepers. They were from the family of Korah. They had the job of guarding the entrance to the holy tent. They did this just as their ancestors had done before them. Their ancestors had the job of guarding the entrance to the area where the Lord lived among the people. In the past, Phinehas was in charge of the gatekeepers. Phinehas was Eleazar's son. The Lord was with Phinehas. Zechariah, son of Meshulamiah, was the gatekeeper at the entrance to the holy tent. In all, there were 212 men who were chosen to guard the gates of the holy tent. Their names were written in their family histories in their small towns. David and Samuel, the seer, chose these men because they could be trusted. The gatekeepers and their descendants had the responsibility of guarding the gates of the Lord's house, the holy tent. There were gates on the four sides: east, west, north, and south. The gatekeepers' relatives who lived in the small towns had to come and help them at certain times. They came and helped the gatekeepers for 7 days each time. There were four gatekeepers who were the leaders of all the gatekeepers. They were Levites. They had the job of caring for the rooms and treasures in God's temple. They stayed up all night guarding God's temple, and they had the job of opening God's temple every morning. Some of the gatekeepers had the job of caring for the dishes used in the temple services. They counted them when they were brought in. They also counted these dishes when they were taken out. Other gatekeepers were chosen to care for the furniture and the special dishes. They also took care of the flour, wine, oil, incense, and special oil. But it was the priest who had the job of mixing the special oil. There was a Levite named Mattathiah who had the job of baking the bread used for the offerings. Mattathiah was Shallum's oldest son. Shallum was from the Korah family. Some of the gatekeepers who were in the Korah family had the job of preparing the bread put on the table every Sabbath. The Levites, who were singers and leaders of their families, stayed in the rooms at the temple. They did not have to do other work because they were responsible for the work in the temple day and night. All these Levites were leaders of their families. They were listed as leaders in their family histories. They lived in Jerusalem. Jael was Gibeon's father. Jael lived in the town of Gibeon. His wife was named Maacah. Jael's oldest son was Abdon. Other sons were Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gedor, Ahoy, Zechariah, and Mikloth. Mikloth was Shamim's father. Jael's family lived near their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was Kish's father. Kish was Saul's father, and Saul was the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbaal. Jonathan's son was Merib-Baal. Merib-Baal was Micah's father. Micah's sons were Pithon, Melech, Tare, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jada. Jada was the father of Alamith, Asmaveth, and Zimri. Zimri was Mazah's father. Mazah was the father of Benai. Rephiah was Benai's son. Elsah was Rephiah's son. And Azel was Elah's son. Azel had 6 sons. Their names were Esrakam, Bakaru, Ishmael, Shariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. They were Azel's children. First Chronicles chapter 10. The Philistines fought against the Israelites. The Israelites ran away from the Philistines. Many Israelites were killed on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines continued chasing Saul and his sons. They caught them and killed them. The Philistines killed Saul's sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. The fighting was heavy around Saul. The archers shot Saul with their arrows and wounded him. Then Saul said to the helper who carried his armor, "Pull out your sword and use it to kill me. Then these foreigners will not hurt me and make fun of me when they come." But the helper was afraid. He refused to kill Saul. So Saul used his own sword to kill himself by falling on it. When the helper saw that Saul was dead, he also fell on his own sword and died. So Saul and 3 of his sons died. All of Saul's family died together. When all the Israelites living in the valley saw that their own army had run away and that Saul and his sons were dead, they left their towns and ran away. Then the Philistines came into the towns and lived in them. The next day the Philistines came to take valuable things from the dead bodies. They found Saul's body and the bodies of his sons on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines took things from Saul's body. They took Saul's head and armor. They sent messengers through all their country to tell the news to their false gods and to their people. The Philistines put Saul's armor in the temple of their false gods. They hung Saul's head in the temple of Dagon. All the people living in the town of Jabesh Gilead heard everything that the Philistines had done to Saul. All the brave men from Jabesh Gilead went to get the bodies of Saul and his sons. They brought them back to Jabesh Gilead. They buried the bones of Saul and his sons under the large tree in Jabesh. Then they showed their sadness and fasted for 7 days. Saul died because he was not faithful to the Lord. He did not obey the Lord's word. Saul also went to a medium and asked her for advice instead of asking the Lord. That is why the Lord killed Saul and gave the kingdom to Jesse's son, David. Thank you for joining A Day in the Word Bible in a Year series. Please subscribe, like, comment, and don't forget to turn on that notification bell. Until next time, shalom.